Hi, I'm Doug. I've been a fitness and rehabilitation professional for 29 years. How neurolastic training came to be. In 2009, I was working with a client in this very office who had Parkinson's. And she had come for a few sessions and she challenged me one of the sessions and she said, you know, everything that you're doing with me is great and I like it, but it's the same thing that every other therapist has done with me thus far. And I was probably the third or fourth PT that she had seen for her Parkinson's. And she said, you know what, I've done all these things over and over again, it doesn't help. And she said, what do you have that's different? What do you have that's new? And it was funny the way she challenged me, but it motivated me to actually sit down with my computer that night and look up some articles. I had been a therapist since 1993, so I was working for about 16 years in this field. And in physical therapy school, we had learned this technique called neuromuscular facilitation. The techniques they taught us in PT school were the bow bath technique and PNF. And even today, those techniques are still being taught. It involves a lot of exercise, crossing the midline, a lot of static balance exercises. And she just said, you know what, everyone's doing the same thing with me, it's not helping. So that night I started looking at articles, and the first article I found was about that technique, PNF. And the article was all about the research they had done on PNF with stroke clients and Parkinson's clients, and they found that it didn't work. That in fact, the article explained that there was no basis for this training, that it had come along based on clinical experience, and then they tried to do some research to back it up. But in actual experiments where they did other techniques, comparing them to how well PNF worked, it didn't do what it said it did. It didn't help people be more stable, it didn't improve their walking. I then found an article that said that Tai Chi was better than physical therapy. And between those two articles, reading one article that basically said everything I'd learned in PT school was inaccurate and not effective, and then reading another article saying that someone doing a Tai Chi class was actually better than physical therapy for balance and for improving fall resistance, that it made me want to understand what did improve fall resistance. So I found a bunch of articles that first night that talked about balance challenge and perturbation training and all these different things that now I deal with all the time. But at the time, I'd never really heard of this. I didn't even know what perturbation training was. And there's article after article I'm reading that says this is the best thing for a trainer or a physical therapist to do with someone like this patient. I started to think about how to do balance challenge with my clients. And initially this was a big dilemma because literally there is no book that talks about this as a way to improve balance or resist falls. There's no class that a physical therapist can sign up for that actually teaches them balance challenge as a type of treatment. And I started thinking about my 1-hour sessions with patients, and I was realizing that I usually would spend a lot of time with strength training, a lot of time with PNF and sort of static balance techniques, quite a bit of time with verbally instructing the client. And here was article after article telling me that what I was doing was wrong. So I decided right away that, all right, I'm going to try to incorporate this, at least for that one patient. And so I started doing things in this office, like having her step over objects or have her not just balance on something, but try to walk across a bunch of Dynadiscs filled with air or walk over foam. And interestingly enough, it worked. Everything that I tried with her in that initial few sessions, she said, this is different than what anybody else had done with me, and I was already seeing an improvement in her balance. The next thing I got was a treadmill. Because I was realizing that you have to challenge people's balance on the treadmill, they could fall, I realized right away that you couldn't purchase a harness system that would just arrest a fall. That you could buy harness systems for quite a bit of money that would lift someone off the ground and actually reduce their body weight. But that's not what I wanted. I wanted things that would allow the client to basically come very close to falling, but arrest their fall so they wouldn't get hurt. So I ended up designing my own harness system and actually ordering a harness that I designed from a window cleaning company. And lo and behold, I was able to do these treadmill activities like walking backwards, walking sideways safely with this elderly population of patients I had. And it didn't just work a little bit, it was dramatic. There was this huge difference in all my patients. Where before I would see someone 25 times and I really wouldn't see a difference, I would now see someone 6 or 7 times. And there was this amazing difference in how well they walked. And over time, I started realizing that I needed to do more research to really understand what was going on. So I ended up enrolling in a program that would give me a doctor of physical therapy, a DPT, and the school that I went to allowed me to kind of focus the thesis statement and the training in one area. So I chose a question to answer, and the question I chose to answer is, what activities best reduce falls in people with a stroke? All day long for about 3 years, while I was going through that program, I was reading article after article after article and writing papers on these articles about what are the best ways to improve gait to reduce falls. At the same time, I'm in my clinic treating patients with Parkinson's, strokes, people that are falling, people with gait abnormalities, people that are just old and deconditioned. And instead of doing exercise, instead of spending a lot of time instructing in posture, I focused on balance challenge, and it was a complete change in my practice. At the time, I kind of thought, because the articles were there, that all good physical therapists were doing it, but they weren't. And I began to develop a reputation in Hawaii for doing this sort of unique balance program. And I started seeing people with head injuries, with strokes, people that had really lost the ability to walk. I'm the one in this area that sees those clients. And I realized after a while that I really do have something unique. This is a unique approach to improving gait and to improving balance and reducing falls. For a while, I entertained the idea of opening lots and lots of offices and having lots of people work for me doing my technique. But I realized that the best way to do this, to actually share this information with a lot of people, was to educate. And so the reason that there's a certified neurolastic program out there is because rather than me providing this service to thousands of people or hundreds of people or whatever I would have been able to do, I realized I can reach the whole world by being an educator and teaching people kind of what I learned, that the research and logic dictate that we don't do strengthening, that we don't just have people walk on a treadmill or walk on the ground, that instead we do balance challenging. And the thing that I developed over the years was a system of exercise and a way of progressing people with this sort of mindset that balance challenge is the most important thing. That's where the Neurolastic Training program came about, and that's why we're offering this as a certificate so that other people can be educated in this and learn all the techniques that I learned and then be able to work with people on their own doing this. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to see more videos like this. If you want to access my full training course, click the link below in the description. This is not physical therapy or medical training. It is not meant to be medical advice to anyone. It is intended only as educational information for trainers and therapists. No one should ever perform an exercise without consulting with their doctor or medical professional.